Welcome to the story of an icon, a man who many, including myself, consider to be the greatest actor of all time, Marlon Brando. Marlon Brando was born in Omaha, Nebraska on April 3, 1924. As the only son of Marlon Brando Sr. and Dorothy Pennybaker. His father was a salesman who often traveled out of state, and his mother was a stage actress, often away from home. His mother's absence resulted in Brando becoming attached to the family's housekeeper, who eventually left to get married, causing Brando to develop abandonment issues. His two elder sisters were Jocelyn and Frances. In 1947, Brando performed a screen test for an early Warner Brothers script for the novel Rebel Without a Cause 1944, which bore no relation to the film eventually produced in 1955. The screen test is included as an extra in the 2006 DVD release of A Streetcar Named Desire. Brando's first screen role was a bitter paraplegic veteran in the Men 1950. He spent a month in bed at the Birmingham Army Hospital in Van Nuys to prepare for the role. The New York Times reviewer Bosley Crowther wrote that Brando as Ken is so vividly real, dynamic, and sensitive that his illusion is complete, and noted, "Out of stiff and frozen silences, he can lash into a passionate rage with the tearful and flailing frenzy of a taut cable suddenly cut." Early in his career, Brando began using cue cards instead of memorizing his lines. Despite the objections of several of the film directors he worked with, Brando felt that this helped bring realism and spontaneity to his performances. Brando brought his performance as Stanley Kowalski to the screen in Tennessee Williams' A Streetcar Named Desire. It earned him his first Academy Award nomination in the Best Actor category. The role is regarded as one of Brando's greatest. He was also nominated the next year for Viva Zapata, a fictionalized account of the life of Mexican revolutionary Emiliano Zapata. The film recounted Zapata's lower-class upbringing, his rise to power in the early 20th century, and death. The film was directed by Elia Kazan and co-starred Anthony Quinn. In the biopic Marlon Brando, The Wild One, Sam Shaw says, secretly, before the picture started, he went to Mexico to the very town where Zapata lived and was born in, and it was there that he studied the speech patterns of people, their behavior, movement. Most critics focused on the actor rather than the film, with Time and Newsweek publishing rave reviews. Brando's next film, Julius Caesar 1953, received highly favorable reviews. Brando portrayed Mark Antony. While most acknowledged Brando's talent, some critics felt Brando's mumbling and other idiosyncrasies betrayed a lack of acting fundamentals, and when his casting was announced, many remained dubious about his prospects for success. Brando delivered an impressive performance, especially during Antony's noted "Friends, Romans, Countrymen" speech. Gielgud was so impressed that he offered Brando a full season at the Hammersmith Theater, an offer he declined. In 1953, Brando also starred in The Wild One, riding his own Triumph Thunderbird 6T motorcycle. Triumph's importers were ambivalent at the exposure, as the subject matter was rowdy motorcycle gangs taking over a small town. The film was criticized for its perceived gratuitous violence at the time, with Time stating, "The effect of the movie is not to throw light on the public problem." Brando allegedly did not see eye to eye with the Hungarian director, Alcel Benedict, and did not get on with co-star Lee Marvin. In 1954, Brando starred in On the Waterfront, a crime drama film about union violence and corruption among longshoremen. The film was directed by Elia Kazan and written by Bud Schulberg. It also starred Carl Malden, Lee J. Cobb, Rod Steiger, and in her film debut, Ava Marie Saint. When initially offered the role, Brando still stung by Kazan's testimony to HU Acide Emerd, and the part of Terry Malloy nearly went to Frank Sinatra. According to biographer Stefan Kenfer, The director believed that Sinatra, who grew up in Hoboken, where the film takes place and was shot, would work as Malloy, but eventually producer Sam Spiegel wooed Brando to the part, signing him for $100,000. Cousin made no protest because he subsequently confessed, "I always preferred Brando to anybody." Brando won the Oscar for his role as Irish-American stevedore Terry Malloy in On the Waterfront. His performance, spurred on by his rapport with Ava Marie Saint and Cousin's direction, was praised as a tour de force. For the scene in which Terry laments his failings, saying "I could have been a contender," he convinced Kazan that the scripted scene was unrealistic. Schulberg's script had Brando acting the entire scene with his character being held at gunpoint by his brother Charlie, played by Rod Steiger. Brando insisted on gently pushing away the gun, saying that Terry would never believe that his brother would pull the trigger, and doubting that he could continue his speech while fearing a gun on him. Kazan let Brando improvise and later expressed deep admiration for Brando's instinctive understanding. Brando was in the film adaptation of the musical Guys and Dolls. Guys and Dolls would be Brando's first and last musical role. Relations between Brando and co-star Frank Sinatra were also frosty, with Stefan Kenfer observing, "The two men were diametrical opposites. Marlon required multiple takes." Frank detested repeating himself. Upon their first meeting, Sinatra reportedly scoffed, "Don't give me any of that actor's studio shit." Brando later quipped, "Frank is the kind of guy, when he dies, he's going to heaven and give God a hard time for making him bald." In 1958, Brando appeared in The Young Lions, dyeing his hair blonde and assuming a German accent for the role, which he later admitted was not convincing. The film is based on the novel by Irwin Shaw, and Brando's portrayal of the character Christian Diestel was controversial for its time. The Young Lions also features Brando's only appearance in a film with friend and rival Montgomery Clift, although they shared no scenes together. In 1961, Brando made his directorial debut in the western One-Eyed Jacks. The picture was originally directed by Stanley Kubrick, but he was fired early in the production. Paramount then made Brando the director. Brando portrays the lead character Rio, and Carl Malden plays his partner, Dad Longworth. The supporting cast features Katie Jurado, Ben Johnson, and Slim Pickens. Brando's penchant for multiple retakes and character exploration as an actor carried over into his directing, however, and the film soon went over budget. Paramount expected the film to take 3 months to complete, but shooting stretched to 6, and the cost doubled to more than $6 million. Brando's inexperience as an editor also delayed post-production, and Paramount eventually took control of the film. Brando later wrote, "Paramount said it didn't like my version of the story. I'd had everyone lie except Carl Malden. The studio cut the movie 2 pieces and made him a liar too. By then, I was bored with the whole project and walked away from it." Brando's revulsion with the film industry reportedly boiled over on the set of his next film, Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer's remake of Mutiny on the Bounty, which was filmed in Tahiti. The actor was accused of deliberately sabotaging nearly every aspect of the production. On June 16, 1962, the Saturday Evening Post ran an article by Bill Davidson with the headline, $6 million down the drain, the mutiny of Marlon Brando. Mutiny on the Bounty nearly capsized MGM, and while the project had indeed been hampered with delays other than Brando's behavior, the accusations would dog the actor for years as studios began to fear Brando's difficult reputation. Critics also began taking note of his fluctuating weight. All of Brando's other Universal films during this period, including Bedtime Story, The Appaloosa, A Countess from Hong Kong, and The Night of the Following Day, were also critical and commercial flops. Another notable film was The Chase, which paired the actor with director Arthur Penn, Jane Fonda, Robert Redford, and Robert Duvall. The film deals with themes of racism, sexual revolution, small-town corruption and vigilantism. The film was received mostly positively. In The Godfather, Marlon Brando didn't actually audition for the role of Vito Corleone. Instead, Mario Puzo, the author of the novels on which the film was based, called Marlon Brando and told him that if he couldn't find a way to get the movie made, he would give the role back to him. This made Marlon Brando so determined to portray Vito Corleone that he told Puzo that he would take anything the role required, even if it meant losing weight. He eventually got so obsessed with the role that he would spend hours every day reading books about the mafia and practicing Italian. The final cut of the film featured a make-or-break scene where Vito Corleone, played by Marlon Brando, talks about his loyalty to his family. According to Marlon Brando, he actually whispered this line into a microphone so that no one else could hear it but himself. After watching the film and hearing his own take on the line, Marlon Brando admitted that he felt the character had finally found his voice. The Godfather has undoubtedly left an indelible mark on pop culture, transcending the boundaries of film and becoming a cultural phenomenon. Its impact has been so profound that it has even defined popular culture today. This iconic movie series, a groundbreaking work of art, has managed to resonate with audiences across the globe. Despite its 50-year-long production timeline, The Godfather's impact is evident in the way it has been adapted in various forms of media, from television shows and documentaries to video games and music. Its stories and characters have been retold countless of times, inspiring movies, novels, video games, comics, and even a theme park attraction. Moreover, the movie's impact has been felt in popular culture in a broader sense, as it has been used as inspiration for countless street art, murals, and even a song by Tupac Shakur. This unparalleled success can be attributed to the rich narrative, masterful storytelling, and evocative cinematography that have captivated audiences for generations. The Godfather's portrayal of a complex, which to view societal issues, the characters' trajectories and choices present a deeper understanding of humanity, while also highlighting the inherent struggles of power, loyalty, and family. In conclusion, the importance of The Godfather in pop culture cannot be overstated. Its enduring popularity is a testament to its ability to evoke powerful emotions, explore themes that are relevant to humanity, and provide an engaging, immersive narrative experience as we continue to delve into the many layers of this influential saga. It is clear that the impact of The Godfather has not faded, and it will undoubtedly remain a cornerstone of popular culture for years to come. The actor followed The Godfather with Bernardo Bertolucci's 1972 film Last Tango in Paris, playing opposite Maria Schneider, but Brando's highly noted performance threatened to be overshadowed by an uproar over the sexual content of the film. Brando portrays a recent American widower named Paul, who begins an anonymous sexual relationship with a young, betrothed Parisian woman named Jean. Bertolucci said about Brando that he was a monster as an actor and a darling as a human being. Brando refused to speak to Bertolucci for 15 years after the production was completed. Bertolucci said, "I was thinking that it was like a dialogue where he was really answering my questions in a way. When at the end of the movie, when he saw it, I discovered that he realized what we were doing, that he was delivering so much of his own experience. And he was very upset with me, and I told him, 'Listen, you are a grown-up, older than me.'" In 1976, Brando appeared in The Missouri Breaks with his friend Jack Nicholson. The movie also reunited the actor with director Arthur Penn. As biographer Stefan Kenfer describes, Penn had difficulty controlling Brando, who seemed intent on going over the top with his border, ruffian-turned-contract killer Robert E. Lee Clayton. Marlon made him a cross-dressing psychopath. Absent for the first hour of the movie, Clayton enters on horseback, dangling upside down, caparisoned in white buckskin, little feather style. He speaks in an Irish accent for no apparent reason. Over the next hour, also for no apparent reason, Clayton assumes the intonation of a British upper-class twit and an elderly frontier woman, complete with a granny dress and matching bonnet. Brando portrayed Superman's father Jor-El in the 1978 film Superman. He agreed to the role only on assurance that he would be paid a large sum for what amounted to a small part, that he would not have to read the script beforehand, and that his lines would be displayed somewhere off camera. Brando starred as Colonel Walter E. Kurtz in Francis Ford Coppola's Vietnam epic Apocalypse, now in 1979. He plays a highly decorated U.S. Army Special Forces officer who goes renegade, running his own operation based in Cambodia, and is feared by the U.S. military as much as the Vietnamese. Brando is paid $1 million a week for 3 weeks' work. Upon release, Apocalypse now earned critical acclaim, as did Brando's performance. His whispering of Kurtz's final words, the horror, has become particularly famous. Roger Ebert, writing in the Chicago Sun-Times, defended the movie's controversial denouement, opining that the ending, with Brando's fuzzy, brooding monologues and the final violence, feels much more satisfactory than any conventional ending possibly could. Brando starred alongside his friend Johnny Depp on the box office hit Don Juan DeMarco, in which he also shared credits with singer Selena in her only filming appearance, 90, and in Depp's controversial The Brave, which was never released in the United States. On July 1, 2004, Brando died of respiratory failure from pulmonary fibrosis with congestive heart failure at the UCLA Medical Center. The cause of death was initially withheld, with his lawyer citing privacy concerns. He also suffered from diabetes and liver cancer.
Well, I hope to tell you, Johnny, you better lay that rifle down. Let's leave the noose and the calaboose and head it for another town. Well, I've got your name in San Jose and your pictures there to see, and the shooting men in Texas just because they look like me. And we will run the ridges of our Greenland, Tennessee, and we will hide for 40 years if that's what's meant to be, 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 meant to be.